Hi guys, good evening. I'm Ilangovan, onlineaxi.com personal for teaching zoology. So we started the last class about the body fluids and the circulation. Under this category, we have started also the cardiac cycle. The sequential events happening between the initiation of one heartbeat and the commencement of the next. So in a minute, we have a number of cardiac cycles as we have nearly more than that 172 times of heartbeat per minute. So under this cardiac cycle, we have different stages. I started with the first stage, what we have isovolemic relaxation or isometric relaxation. So during that process, all the valves, including the semilunar valves, are opened, and all the chambers are relaxed state. That is why it's called as isovolemic relaxation. The atria receive actually blood both through the pulmonary veins and also through the superior and inferior vena cava. So as a result, it is said to be in a relaxed state. So now we have atria in a relaxed state, what we call this one, the diastole of atria. And followed by that one, we have the second stage, what we have the atrial systole. That is nothing but the contraction phase of the atria. So now as a result of actually the blood in the atria, it gives a force to make the two walls, namely the tricuspid and bicuspid walls open. Now, during this process, the tricuspid and bicuspid walls open. These two walls open, and so that because of the force, without any contraction of the atrial wall, nearly 70% of the blood, about 2/3 of the atrial volume of the blood, passes into the respective ventricles from the left and right atria into the left and right ventricles. This is happening by passive movement. There is no contraction of atria. And at this time, what will happen? Now the AC node, the pacemaker, generates the electrical impulse or the action potential. So which is spreading to the wall of the atria, making the wall of the atria to undergo contraction. So a pressure is created by atrial systole. So that what will happen, the remaining 30% of blood is being forced to enter into the respective ventricles. So anyway, the atrial contraction or atrial what is called a systole increases the flow of blood into the ventricles by 30%. So remember that one, nearly 70% of the blood flows passively because of the force of the blood itself into the ventricles. Only 30% of the blood alone being pumped by atrial contraction. So that concludes the atrial systole. This is because of the generation of the electrical impulses or the action potential created by the SA node located on the inner wall of the right atrium at the upper part. And followed by the second stage, we have the ventricular systole. So now, as the blood is pumped into the ventricles, somehow the blood is in a relaxed state. And now the blood pressure is created inside somehow. Now what will happen? The action potential generated by the SN node is spreading to the musculature of the two ventricles through the bundle of His, then also AV node and then AV bundle. So in this direction, AV node, AV bundle and bundle of His through the Purkinje fibers, each and every muscle fiber of the ventricle receives the action potential generated by SN node. As a result, what will happen? The muscles of the ventricles undergo contraction. That is what we call this one ventricular systole. When the ventricular systole is happening at the same time, what will happen? That is the atria receiving the blood. So it is coinciding with what is called the atrial diastole. So when ventricle is undergoing contraction or when the ventricle is at a systole state, at the same time the atria are said to be in a diastole because they are receiving the blood. So this is happening just to get that. So the atrial systole is normally not coinciding. We can say also in this manner. Atrial systole is coinciding with the ventricular diastole. Similarly, the atrial diastole is coinciding with the ventricular systole. So the ventricular muscle is undergoing contraction because of the conduction of the impulses generated by the pacemaker, namely that is SN node. Now, what is happening? So as a result of the impulses reaching the ventricular muscle, now the ventricular musculature is undergoing contraction. So that results in ventricular systole. As a result, the pressure inside the two ventricles is increasing steadily. And that pressure makes the two walls, namely the tricuspid and bicuspid walls, to close. So the closure of the tricuspid and bicuspid walls occurs. This is because of the force, because of the increased pressure that occurs inside the ventricles because of the contraction of the ventricular walls. And as a result of this event, what will happen? The blood flow, the return back of the blood into the atria is prevented. We already seen the functioning of the walls. The walls are responsible for allowing the blood flow only in one direction. So that here also, as the pressure increases the ventricles, the two atrioventricular walls, namely the tricuspid and bicuspid walls, are closing the openings, preventing the backward flow of blood that is from the ventricles into the atria. And as a result of further ventricular pressure, when the pressure is increasing, now the walls close already, and that pressure once again increasing steadily because of the ventricular contraction. Now it makes the semilunar walls to open. So we have the semilunar walls present at the opening of the pulmonary artery as well as at the opening of that is aorta. So these two walls are actually forced to open. This is because of increased ventricular pressure. So increased ventricular pressure causes two things. One, causes the closure of that is tricuspid and bicuspid walls, and also making the openings of that is the two walls present at the base of the pulmonary artery and the aorta respectively, namely the semilunar walls. So as a result of the opening of these two semilunar walls, what will happen? The blood enters into the respective blood vessels, namely from the left ventricle into the aorta to be carried to different parts of the body. From the right ventricle enters into the pulmonary artery to be carried to the lungs for purification. So this is happening during the ventricular systole. So main events: increase in pressure within the ventricles, then the closure of the atrioventricular walls, opening of the semilunar walls, and then the ejection of the blood into the respective blood vessels, namely aorta and pulmonary artery. Now, the last stage of the cardiac cycle, we have the ventricular diastole. That is nothing but the relaxation of the ventricle. So as soon as the blood leaves from the ventricles, what will happen? The pressure falls within the ventricles. So now what will happen? The pressure falls ultimately. This is because the blood is leaving from that is the ventricle. There is no contraction of the ventricular muscles. Now the blood from the two atria once again enters into the ventricles, making the ventricles to relax. And that is called ventricular diastole. So after the blood has been left from the two ventricles into the respective blood vessels, the pressure falls, and at the same time making the two walls, the atrioventricular walls, to open. So the blood is once again coming from atria into the respective ventricles. So, and before that, what is happening? To prevent the backward flow of blood, that is from the two blood vessels into the respective ventricles, once the pressure falls, the semilunar walls are closed. The closure of semilunar walls. So when the pressure is increasing the ventricles, the atrioventricular walls are closed. When the pressure is decreasing in the ventricles or falls, the closure of the semilunar walls are. This is because to prevent the backward or backwash of blood from the two blood vessels into the respective ventricles. Now further decline of the pressure occurs in the ventricles and making the ventricles just open the two walls, namely the atrioventricular walls, once again the bicuspid and tricuspid walls, so that the blood reaches the two ventricles once again from the two atria. So now the cycle has to be repeated once again. That's why I mentioned the sequential events happening between the two heartbeats. So it is normally between the two successive heartbeats. So we have the cardiac cycle, and within a minute we have a number of cardiac cycles happens to occur as the heart is beating 72 times per minute. So don't forget that one. In a minute, we have a number of cardiac cycles as we have nearly 72 times of heartbeat. So a heartbeat comprises of, you know that one, and it is actually a systole and diastole of both atria and ventricles. A heartbeat comprises of systole and diastole of both atria and ventricles. That is actually equal to one heartbeat. So we have nearly 72 times just actually the heart is beating per minute. So accordingly, we have nearly 72 times of cardiac cycles. So I mentioned we have just many cardiac cycles in a minute. So the number of cardiac cycles normally corresponding to the number of heartbeats, because we have 72 times per minute. The cardiac cycles also more or less equal to the number of beats. Now let us have. So what is the duration of the heartbeat, or what is the duration of the cardiac cycle? So this is equal to the heartbeat. So the duration of cardiac cycle is equal to the duration of the heartbeat. So the duration of one heartbeat is equal to 0.8 seconds. But roughly, normally we can have 0.88 seconds. I have given the data here. So the atrial systole, the duration of the atrial systole is about 0.18 seconds. And the duration of the atrial diastole is about 0.08 seconds. So normally the diastole of atria is less in time than that of the systole. And if you are comparing the ventricular systole and diastole, the diastole takes more time than that of the systole. For example, here you could see that is ventricular diastole is about 0.32 seconds the duration, and for ventricular systole it is about 0.30 seconds. So totally one heartbeat or one cardiac cycle lasts for about 0.88 seconds. So one cardiac cycle is equal to one heartbeat. So the duration of one cardiac cycle or the duration of one heartbeat is equal to 0.88 seconds. And normally we can represent all these things in a simple manner. Here, for complete diastole, for example, I am taking this one, 0.32 second, and then 0.08 second. So totally we can have 0.4 second for complete diastole. So 0.32 plus 0.08, that is equal to 0.4 second. So for complete diastole, the total time taken is about 0.4 second. And similarly for complete actually systole, the duration is about, just I mentioned here, 0.1 second, just 0.1 this one. And then just we have 0. Just we see that one ventricular systole 0.3. So it is equivalent to just 0.4. So the systole time and the diastole time is more or less equal. So the time schedule for diastole is equal to 0.4 second. And also it is equivalent to the what is called the systole of both atria and ventricle. So this diastole includes both atrial systole and just what is called ventricular diastole. Together the duration is about 0.4 second. Similarly for the systole time for both atria and ventricle together is about 0.4 second. So I represent this one in yellow color. The total duration, the complete diastole is about 0.4 second. And here also the complete systole is equal to 0.4 seconds. So we can have 50-50%. But out of the systole, we have just actually the atrial systole is lesser in duration than that of what is called ventricular systole. See, the ventricular systole is about 0.3 second and the auricular systole is about 0.1 second. So the time duration for auricular systole is always lesser than that of that one, because the atria are pumping blood only into the ventricles. But the ventricles are pumping the blood into the blood vessels to be carried to different parts of the body. That is why actually it takes much time. That is why the duration of the ventricular systole is much higher than that of atrial systole. Now what do we stroke one? So I have given actually the different pictures also for the cardiac cycle. So stroke volume, and just we have the stages of cardiac cycle. So you see that one diastolic period of isometric relaxation, that is the first stage in cardiac cycle. So what would happen in this one? We have all the chambers in a relaxed state. See that one? That is all the chambers in a relaxed state. Both are having the same picture, except that no representation for that is atrioventricular walls. Both are having the same pictures with only the labelings. So we have, you see that one, all the chambers are in a relaxed state and all the walls are kept open. That is the semilunar walls. the bicuspid and tricuspid walls all kept open. So we have this is bicuspid and tricuspid walls all kept open. That is why it's called as isovolumic relaxation or in relaxed state. Now here diastole, passive ventricular filling, passive ventricular filling. So I mentioned already because of actually the blood just filling the two atria, nearly 70% of the blood is entering into the ventricles by opening through the two walls passively. That's why I mentioned here diastole, passive ventricular filling. And now this is diastole, active ventricular filling, and this is because of the atrial contraction. You see the picture. See the difference between the atria. Here the atria almost in relaxed state. That is why the blood is entering without any force. This is because of the blood pressure. Normally it makes the walls open. So passively the blood enters nearly 70%. Then because of the generation of the electrical impulses, you can see here the folding, the picture. The atria are undergoing contraction and just pushing the blood with force into the ventricles. That's why it's called as diastole, active ventricular filling of the ventricles. Here 70% is not there. Only 30% of the blood is pumped with the force and 70% of the blood is pumped without force. It enters passively. That's why I mentioned here diastole, passive ventricular filling, and this is diastole, active ventricular filling because of the contraction of the atria, and that is called atrial systole. So this is without atrial systole, blood is pumped here, and here with atrial systole, blood is pumped, and this is 70%, and that one is nearly 30% of the blood pumped by this effect. Now systole, period of ejection. Now what happened? The two ventricles are undergoing contraction. This is ventricular systole. As a result, the semilunar walls open both in the aorta and also in the pulmonary artery. So blood enters into the respective blood vessels by opening or by making what is called the semilunar walls open. So this is what's called period of ejection. That is nothing but the entry of blood into the respective actual blood vessels because of the force of contraction of the two ventricles, and that is called period of ejection. The blood is being pumped into the respective blood vessels, that is namely the pulmonary artery and the aorta. So you could see the arrow marks and also the opened semilunar walls. Now what will happen? So this is nothing but the CS of the heart. By passing through the different walls, we have already the three different types of walls. Now these are all the opened semilunar walls. And this one, you see that one, there are two flaps, hence called bicuspid wall. And here there are three flaps, that's why it's called tricuspid walls. So during ventricular contraction or during ventricular systole, you know that one, the two walls, the bicuspid and tricuspid walls, namely the atrioventricular walls, are closed. And the semilunar walls, just guarding the opening of the pulmonary artery and the aorta, have been opened. So this is what is happening during ventricular systole. This is nothing but the cross section of the heart showing the closure of the two walls, atrioventricular walls, namely the bicuspid and tricuspid walls, and the opening of the semilunar walls present at the base of the pulmonary artery, as well as what is called the aorta, the largest blood vessel. So here once again I am comparing the cardiac cycle, what is happening. So this is nothing but the diastole. You could see the arrow mark. During ventricular diastole, this is because of the passive movement of the blood as well as because of the active movement of the blood due to the contraction of the atria. By opening the two walls, the blood is entering into the respective ventricles. So this is what is called ventricular diastole. Now this diagram represents the ventricular systole once again. This is because of the contraction of the two chambers. Now the walls are closed. These are all the bicuspid and tricuspid walls. They are closed, and the semilunar walls are open, present at the base of the pulmonary artery and aorta. So the blood is being ejected into this one. That is nothing but a period of ejection because of ventricular contraction. This is nothing but the diastole, the filling of the ventricle because of the ventricular relaxation. So I am comparing the two pictures, all are more or less similar. Want to know the different things? I have given different pictures and go through that one. Just we can find the answers easily. Now, the next one, what is the stroke volume? So when the heart is undergoing contraction or when the ventricle is undergoing contraction, certain amount of blood is pumped out from the two ventricles together into the respective blood vessels. And such amount of blood that is being pumped out during each heartbeat is called stroke volume. It is nothing but approximate volume of blood pumped by each heartbeat, not actually per minute, each heartbeat. That is called as simply each ventricular pump, and that is called the stroke volume. So per heartbeat, the amount of blood that is pumped out from the heart is equivalent to 70 ml, and that is called stroke volume. The amount of blood that is being pumped out during each ventricular systole is called the stroke volume, that is equal to 70. Then what do you mean by cardiac output? The volume of blood normally pumped out by the heart, simply by the contraction of the ventricle during each minute, and this one is each heartbeat, and this is actually per minute. So the amount of blood that is normally being pumped out from the heart during each minute is called the cardiac output, and that is roughly equal to 5 liters of blood. And that is why, what is the volume of blood pumped in the body? What is the volume of blood what is the volume of blood formed in the body? That is equal to 1 cardiac output. So the amount of blood that is normally formed in the body is equal to, or the volume of blood formed in the body is equal to, the volume of blood that is pumped out during each minute. That is nothing but the cardiac output. So we can say it is about 5,000 ml or 5 liters. So stroke volume is nothing but the amount of blood that is pumped during each beat, and cardiac output is nothing but the amount of blood that is pumped out from actually the heart during each minute. So if you want to get actually the cardiac output, you have to multiply the stroke volume with the heartbeat rate, that is number of beats per minute. So you know that when the stroke volume is equal to 70 ml, that is per beat, the number of beats per minute is equal to 72. So if you multiply the stroke volume with this, what is called the number of beats per minute, then you can get the cardiac output. So cardiac output is equal to stroke volume multiplied by the heartbeat rate or the number of beats per minute. So we are getting nearly about 5040 ml of blood being pumped out during each minute. That is called as the cardiac output. That's why we can say in round figures, the volume of the blood that is pumped during each minute or the cardiac output is equal to 5 liters. And that is equal to the volume of blood formed in the body. So we have 2 questions here. So what is cardiac output? It is equal to 5 liters. Then what is the volume of blood formed in the body that's equal to 5 liters? So this is only the average one. It may vary. You know that one in the case of male it is more than that in the case of females. If you are saying that one in the case of male it is equal to 5 to 6 liters, and in the case of female it is equal to 4 to 5 liters. So ranges are there, but an average value we have 5 liters actually per minute, that is equal to cardiac output. Now the next one we have the heart sound. So when the heart is undergoing contraction or during the cardiac cycle, 2 sounds can be produced. During each cardiac cycle or during each heartbeat, 2 sounds could be heard. And actually 2 sounds can be produced. We can hear these 2 sounds with the help of stethoscope, and they are called as the heart sounds because they are being produced because of the contraction and the relaxation of the heart. But actually speaking, the heart sounds are because of the closure of the walls or the opening of the walls, mainly due to the closure of the walls. The heart sounds are caused because of the closure of the walls. We can hear 2 prominent sounds. One is called as the lub, another one is called as the dub. These 2 sounds are caused because of the closure of 2 different types of walls. One sound is produced by the closure of the atrioventricular walls. Another sound is actually caused because of the closure of the cellular walls. So while these walls are closing, they can produce 2 different kinds of sounds, lub and dub, like that, lub, dub. So this is because of the closure of the 2 walls. Now let's compare the 2 sounds, lub and dub. So given here in the form of tubular column. So if you are comparing the 2 sounds, the first sound produced is called as the lub. So it is the first sound. And followed by it, we have the second sound, and the second sound is the dub. So the first sound is love, and the second one is. Then if you are comparing the duration and also just what is called the amplitude. The first sound love is normally louder but longer. Louder but longer. The duration is about 0.16 to 0.96, 0.16 to 0.96. But the second sound, though it is normally shorter, but it is very short. You can hear it very easily. It is louder, but the duration is long. But the duration here is shorter, but the sound is very short. So the duration is about only 0.10 second. There you have 0.16 to 0.96, but here 0.10 only. So louder, longer, and that one is short and short. And what is the reason for the development of such sounds? The lung is caused due to the closure of atrioventricular valves. When it is happening, so these walls are closed only when the ventricles are undergoing contraction. When the ventricles are undergoing contraction to prevent the backward flow of blood into the atria, the two walls, atrioventricular walls, namely the bicuspid and tricuspid walls, are closed. So the first sound is caused due to the closure of the two walls, the atrioventricular walls, namely tricuspid and bicuspid. When? So the closure of the two walls occurs only at the beginning of the ventricular systole, or we can say at the end of the ventricular diastole. Both are more or less similar. So it occurs at the beginning of the ventricular systole, or we can say the end of the ventricular diastole. So when the ventricular diastole ends, automatically we can have the systole. The systole is normally beginning in the ventricle. That is why we can have it occurs at the beginning of the ventricular systole or the end of the ventricular diastole. Just diastole and systole, remember that one. And coming back to this dub, it is due to the closure of the semilunar walls, unlike the atrioventricular walls. When these walls are actually closed, when the ventricles are actually relaxed, so it occurs at the end of the ventricular systole. When the systole ends, you know that what the diastole begins, or we can say at the beginning of the ventricular just diastole. So we can say either way, it occurs at the end of the ventricular systole or the beginning of the ventricular diastole, because the ventricular diastole occurs only at the end of the ventricular systole. So you can say either way. So you go through this one and can find the answer easily. So it occurs at the beginning of the systole, it occurs at the end of the ventricular systole, or it occurs at the end of the ventricular diastole. It occurs at the beginning of the ventricular diastole like that. So these are some of the differences between the two sounds. The two sounds can be heard by means of the stethoscope, the instrument. Now the next one. To know the efficiency of heart, whether the heart is normally functioning or not, we can have what is called the electrocardiogram. So by which we can make what is called electrocardiogram. So electrocardiogram, otherwise called simply ECG or EKG in German. So EKG in Germany is in English word. So it is a machine, electrocardiogram is a machine which is used to obtain the graphical representation, namely the electrocardiogram, ECG. So ECG have just two meanings, one about the instrument, another about the graphical representation, what we are getting in a grid paper, what is called electrocardiogram. So electrocardiogram is a machine which is used to obtain electrocardiogram, namely ECG. So what is electrocardiogram? So electrocardiogram is a graphical representation of the electrical activity of the heart. We are representing not the contraction and relaxation of the heart. We are representing only the electrical activity of the heart during each cardiac cycle. It is not showing about the contraction and relaxation of the heart, or it is not showing about the systole and diastole of the heart. It shows only the electrical activity of the heart during each cardiac cycle. Because you know that one SCM node is generating electrical impulses in the form of action potential. And because of that one, it just we have something happening in the body. Electric current can be produced, and that is being spread to the surface of the body. When electrodes are placed on the surface of the skin against the heart, we can get what is called the electrocardiogram. So this is what is happening. When a cell node is generating electrical impulses, some amount of current is spreading to the tissue surrounding the heart, and that is also spreading to the surface of the body. When you are placing the electrodes on the surface of the skin against the heart in the chest region, now the electrical activity can be recorded. That electrical activity is being represented in the form of what is called a graph, and that is called electrocardiogram, ECG or EKG. So it is nothing but the graphical representation only of the electrical activity of the heart and not the contraction and relaxation phase of the heart. Now, during actually the ECG, we are getting some waves, and these waves normally represent, or these waves are because of or due to the depolarization of the muscles and not due to the contraction of the heart. So what do you mean by depolarization? If you are taking any membrane, either, for example, I am taking any cell, for example, the axon of the nerves. In a normal condition, it has charges, outer positive charges and inner negative charges like this. This is what is called a membrane potential. In a normal resting membrane without any stimulus is given, the membrane shows outer positive charge and inner negative charge. Such a membrane is called polarized membrane, and the membrane is said to be in a resting potential state. In a resting potential state without any stimulus, without generation of electrical impulse, the resting potential is about minus 70 millivolt. The resting potential is about minus 70 millivolt. That is amplitude. We can just calculate by means of what is called the galvanometer. So 70 millivolt. Once a stimulus is given, what will happen? The charges change. Once a stimulus is given. So what is the reason for having that is the positive negative charges? We'll see under the nervous system. Now here, once a stimulus is given, for example, at this junction, where you have the positive charge at the first point. At that point, once a stimulus is given, it may be electrical stimulus or chemical stimulus or mechanical stimulus to any membrane. Now the charges have been changed. Now the charge on the outer side becomes negative. The charge on the inner side becomes positive. This is once a stimulus is given. Now what will happen? This membrane is called depolarized membrane, having outer negative and inner positive charge. So what do you mean by action potential? The generation of electrical impulses by depolarization. Once a stimulus is given because of the net electrical charge to maintain electrostatic equilibrium, because of the movement of two different ions, namely sodium and potassium, what will happen here? The charges have been changed because of the net number of sodium and potassium ions. We'll see under the nervous system what we call this one sodium potassium exchange pump. So now once stimulus is given, the charges have been changed. Now the membrane is called depolarization. And that resulted in the generation of the electrical impulse or action potential. So what is action potential? The generation of electrical impulses by simply depolarization process. Now the impulses are being conducted in this manner. Now from this point, the impulse being conducted here. Once again, here we have that as negative and positive charge. After the impulses have been passed from that point, once again the charges have been regained. The original one. Once again, we are getting positive and negative charges as in the original condition. So this process is called repolarization. So once electric impulses is generated, the electric current is produced, then we can say action potential, it is about plus 40 millivolt from 35 to 40. So under resting potential condition without any stimulus, the electric current generated here is about minus 70 millivolt in minus value. Now this is the value of action potential. Once the impulses has been generated because of the stimulation, we have that is plus 40. So plus 40 millivolt represent what is called action potential, and minus 70 millivolt represent the resting potential. And these two questions came actually in the question paper regarding the value of the resting potential and the value of action potential. Remember that one. So this is what we call this one the depolarization. So we are getting different waves during ECG, that is in the graph of ECG, and all the waves are due to depolarization and not because of what is called the contraction of the walls of the heart. Now coming back, so the waves of ECG, what I mentioned, are due to depolarization. Somehow repolarization also takes place, but we are taking mainly the depolarization. And once again, to return back to the normal state, from the excited state, we have to have what is called the repolarization process. Then only we can have, that is, another stimulus to form another impulse. So the waves of ECG are due to depolarization and not due to the contraction of the heart. Remember. Then, what is the use of that one electrocardiogram? It has its prime function. What for? For screening and also diagnose the various disorders, particularly we can say the cardiovascular disease. Similarly, we can also, for example, electroencephalograph, EEG, that is used for just calculating the electrical activity of the brain, EEG. So EEG is otherwise called electroencephalography, because we are normally just calculating or just finding out the electrical activity of the brain, whether the brain is under normal conditions. So in all cases, we have the ability of generating electrical impulses once stimulus is given. Some sort of electric current is running within our body. So the brain is also actually the brain waves. We have different waves. There are 4 waves in the brain. Whether these waves are under normal conditions or not, for that we have to make use of EEG. And now ECG coming back to. So ECG has a prime function of screening and diagnosing the cardiovascular disease, particularly related to the heart, whether the heart is under normal condition, working properly or not. Now let's say something about the invention of this. So was the first person recorded the electrical activity. So we are recording only the electrical activity of the heart by means of this ECG and not the contraction and relaxation of the heart muscles. So the electrical activity of the heart was first recorded by a person by name Augustus Waller in 1887. He used a mechanism, what is called, used a capillary electrometer. For measuring the electrical activity, he used capillary electrometer. But the result was not up to the level. And it was Ilangovan, a Dutch scientist, a doctor, in 1901. So he was the first person actually used the string galvanometer to measure the electrical activity of the heart. So his work led to the development of the modern cardiography. That's why he is called as a father of electrocardiography. He is called as father of electrocardiography. That's Ilangovan. So Ilangovan in 1901 he recorded the electrical activity of the heart by using what is called string galvanometer. He is called aptly father of electrocardiography. Okay, so he was given just normally the Nobel Prize in 1924. So what is the prime function of ECG? So normally I mentioned about ECG as the prime function of ECG has a prime function mainly for screening and diagnosing the cardiovascular disease. This is not necessary. It's an unwanted part. Now, let's go to something about ECG in detail. How can you construct an ECG? So, an ECG is normally constructed by measuring the electrical potential. That is nothing but the action potential between the various points in the body. So, we are just keeping, for example, just already the 12 leads we are connecting. If you have the chance of just entering the hospitals where the ECG has been done, then you can have the idea. The leads are connected to the body. So, if you want to construct that is ECG, it can be constructed by measuring the electrical activity just between the various points of the body using a galvanometer. That's why we have the different leads connected to the right arm, left leg, right leg. So we have different leads. So if you want to construct that one ECG, you have to measure the electrical activity between the various parts or the points of the body using the galvanometer. Now, in the graph, we can have certain peaks, ups and downs, peaks and downs. So each peak in the ECG is identified with 5 letters from P to T. That means there are 5 waves generally, main waves. There are 5 general waves in each cardiogram. So they are represented from left to right as P, Q or S, T. And these waves corresponded to the electrical activity, particularly specific electrical activity of the heart. Specific electrical activity of the heart. They represent the specific electrical activity of the heart that is being represented from a 5 waves P to T. Now, out of these waves, 3 waves are called the positive waves. They are going up. And 2 waves are called the negative waves. They are just running below the horizontal line. Suppose this is the base. There are 3 waves above and 2 waves below. So those waves actually are called the positive waves, which are just actually upward waves. P, R and T are the positive waves, or otherwise called as upward waves. Q and S are called the negative waves. They are nothing but the downward deflections. So these 3, P, R, T, they are running above the baseline, and 2 are nothing but downward deflection. So they represent what is called the negative waves. Okay. Now let's go in detail about each and every wave. How can you identify the different the criteria related to the diagnosis of the heart failure, the heart block, or we can know what is called irregular heartbeat, etc. So the P wave. So what is the use of that? So normally it represents the electrical activity or electrical excitation. It is caused because of the depolarization of the atria. So we have upper 2 chambers and lower 2 chambers. Here some sort of excitation takes place. That is nothing but the depolarization. Having outer, just to begin with, positive in the negative, and because of depolarization, now we have outer negative and in the positive charges in the wall of the atria. That's why I mentioned here, it is an electrical excitation, nothing but the depolarization of the atria. So as a result of this one, always you know that we can have the waves, the electrical activity occurs first and followed by the contraction and relaxation. So once you can have what is called just the different waves, once the electrical activities are taking place first, either depolarization or repolarization, and it is followed only we have the contraction or the relaxation. So first we have the depolarization and followed by it. That is what I can say. The electrical activity of the heart begins and followed by the contraction of the heart. So once the P wave started, it leads to the contraction of both atria. So if you want to know anything about the activity of atria, whether it is normal or abnormal, and for that we need the guide. The guide is coming from P wave. That's why I mentioned here it is a guide to the activity of atria. Whether it is functioning normally or not, if you look at the waves created by the atrial contraction, and that way the P wave is nothing but a positive wave, it is running above, we'll see in the picture, and that one represents the atrial activity. That's why it is a guide. Now normally, if the shape of the wave is different from the normal one, from the standard curve, then it indicates some problems in the atrium. If it is not normal, if it is abnormal, that indicates what is called atrial problems. Suppose if this P wave is irregular or absent, that indicates that person is having some sort of arrhythmia. The wave is not proper, away or deviate from the standard curve. That is what I mentioned here, irregular. Sometimes the P wave is suppressed, that means absent. That indicates the person is having some sort of arrhythmia. What is arrhythmia? Irregular heartbeat. So under arrhythmia, the heartbeat may be irregular, means either it is over rate or under rate. That is increased rate of heartbeat or decreased rate of heartbeat, together called what is known as arrhythmia. Okay, so arrhythmia means irregular heartbeat. Now, by using this P wave, And making the relationship of this P wave with this Q or S complex, we can say that next three waves Q or S together call as Q or S complex. By making the relationship between these two, namely the P wave and Q or S complexes, one will be able to determine the presence of heart block. So there is a relationship between the P wave and the Q or S complex, and the doctors are actually making that just the relationship between these two and conclude that if there is any deviation from the normal condition, that person is having some sort of heart block. Heart block means failure in conduction of electrical impulses from SCA node to different parts of the heart. That is happening. So that is about the P wave. It is because of depolarization of the atria. It is a guide for atrial activity. These are the 2 points we will remember. Now the QRS complex. So the QRS complex is due to the depolarization of the ventricles. The first one, depolarization of atria. Now the second one, the depolarization of ventricles, generally speaking. But the Q wave is different. Totally we can say the QRS complex, the depolarization of the ventricles. So out of these three, Q, R and S, the Q wave normally, the Q and S, these two are the negative waves, and R alone the positive wave. The longest one, you could see very clearly. It is, if you see the picture, you can get the idea. The R wave is of just having a high peak when compared to the rest of the waves like P, Q, S and T is the largest one. Now, this QRS complex normally corresponds to the current. That is, you see that one corresponds to the current that causes the contraction of the left and right ventricles. That is leading to or the beginning of the systole of the ventricles. So, when you have the electrical activity, so it is followed by it only we have the other structures, other what is called the other mechanisms happening in the heart. So, when you have the QRS complex, electrical activity is followed by the beginning of the ventricular systole. So, here I mentioned. So, some current has been created in the form of action potential that initiates the contraction of the left and right ventricles, and followed by this only we have the pumping of the blood or the ejection of the blood in the respective blood vessels. When the contraction begins, the contraction normally begins shortly after Q, and that one marks the beginning of the ventricular system. So, after reaching at about the summit of the Q wave. So, for example, this is P and this is Q, and this is the summit of the Q wave, and this is the summit of the Q wave, the topmost point, that is called the summit. So, the contraction starts, the contraction of the heart starts after only the electrical activity of the heart, after the Q, that is nothing but the depolarization of an interventricular septum. You can have here. What do you mean by Q wave? So, generally speaking, all the three waves are because of the depolarization of ventricles. But the depolarization occurs either in the muscle wall or in the septum. For example, the Q wave is caused because of the depolarization of the interventricular septum. The other two waves R and S are caused because of what is called the depolarization of the ventricular muscle itself. That's why we can have some sort of actually distinction between this Q and R and S. So the contraction starts normally after Q and marks the beginning of the system. Now let's have some points related to the Q wave, how far it is useful in diagnosing the cardiovascular disease. So I mentioned already it is a small negative wave. It's a small negative wave, a downward deflection. In some cases it's mostly indistinct, not visible at all. And what is it due to? I mentioned already it is due to interventricular septal depolarization. Altogether we have ventricular muscles in between which we have the septum. There you have the electrical activity, the depolarization of the ventricle. So the Q wave is because of what is called the depolarization of the interventricular septum. Then, how can you just get an idea about the heart? If the Q wave is very wide and deep, if it is wide and deep, then it indicates a kind of heart disorder, myocardial infarction. Myocardial infarction. The word infarction refers to it occurs any place, either in the nervous tissue or, for example, in the brain or in the heart. If it occurs in the heart, then it's called myocardial infarction. If it occurs in the nervous system or the brain, then it's called neural infarction. So what do you mean by infarction? Localized death of the heart muscle. At a particular region, the death of the muscle occurs. Here the heart muscle, and that is called myocardial infarction. This is because of improper supply or no supply of blood to that particular heart, leading to myocardial infarction. So if the Q wave is very deep and wide, one can identify, one can just determine or one can indicate that the person is having myocardial infarction. Now, R and S waves. I mentioned earlier. Here I just given a different statement. And these two waves indicate the contraction of myocardium itself. That is nothing but the muscular walls of the ventricles. Q wave, the septal wall depolarization, and here R and S waves because of the ventricular wall polarization. Ventricular wall depolarization. That's why I mentioned myocardium. That is nothing but the muscle wall of the ventricle. So if you have any abnormalities in the QRS complex, if it is not normal, the Q, R and S waves. So a lot of diagnostic information can be gathered from this QRS complex. The total duration of the QRS complex is about 0.8 seconds. And even the amplitude is about 0.1, that is millivolt. So lot of information, diagnostic information can be gained from this abnormal QRS complex. Number 1, bundle branch block. If there is block in the conduction of impulses in the AV node, from the AV node to the Purkinje fibers, that is called bundle branch block. Then ventricular origin of tachycardia. Tachycardia means abnormal heartbeat, increased rate of heartbeat. Ventricular origin, it starts from the ventricular region. So from this one can able to know whether the heartbeat is increased or not. Increased heartbeat is called tachycardia. Then ventricular hypertrophy. So the overactivity of the heart. The heart is working actually, though proper blood supply oxygen is given to that one. That is without supply of oxygen blood, it is working and then it is being exhausted. Overwork, hypertrophy. Then pericarditis, the inflammation of the pericardium, the covering membrane of the heart. Then pericardial effusion. The fluid, pericardial fluid accumulated more and more between the outer and inner pericardial membrane, making the person to just breathe normally. So pericardial effusion, nothing but accumulation of pericardial fluid more and more between the two membranes of the pericardium, that is inner and outer. Then, by counting the number of QRS complexes in a particular given time or in a specific given time, one can be able to determine or calculate the number of heartbeats. By calculating, by counting the number of QRS complexes, one can be able to count the number of heartbeats in a given time. So these are all the diagnostic information what we can gather from, that is the QRS complex. Now out of all the waves, either P or Q or S, all the waves are due to depolarization, excepting the last wave, the T wave. The T wave is due to ventricular repolarization. So P wave because of atrial depolarization, QRS complex because of ventricular depolarization, that the Q is because of interventricular septal, that is depolarization, and this is the one ventricular repolarization. That is once again actually the heart is returning back to its normal state from its excited state. That is the ions or the charges outside the membrane and inside the membrane once again returning to normal. We have outer positive and inner negative charges in the membrane of the muscle layers, and that one results in returning back of the heart to its normal condition from its what is called excited state. And this is the only one where you have the repolarization. All other waves are because of depolarization. Remember that one. So the end of the T wave, once the T wave has been completed, it marks the end of the ventricular system. So after Q waves, we have the beginning of what is called ventricular system. Now this the end of the T wave marks the end of the ventricular system. Now what is its use? So normally you know that one, the ions or the elements involved, the minerals involved in the contraction of heart, we have the potassium ions as well as calcium ions. These are the two major elements responsible for the contraction and relaxation of the heart. Either increase in potassium concentration or decrease in potassium concentration affects the heart working. So decrease in concentration is called hypokalemia. When you have decreased concentration of potassium, that condition is called hypokalemia. If you have more concentration of potassium, then it is called hyperkalemia. Either hyperkalemia or hypokalemia, that is both of the electrolyte imbalance related to potassium. It's a major impact on the heart. So you can see just actually the tachycardia, or we can have another one bradycardia, or totally called arrhythmia. That is, I can say this irregular heart. This is because of either increased concentration of potassium or decreased concentration of potassium, named as hyperkalemia and hypokalemia, and that results in the more change in the T wave. So the T wave abnormalities may indicate electrolyte imbalance, particularly related to the potassium, the one responsible for the contraction and relaxation of the heart function. Now, between just to be hard, for example, S and T, there is a segment between just for example Q and R, between P and R. We have either interval or segment. Accordingly, we have one ST segment. So a segment means it connects one wave to another. So it connects what is called the QRS complex and the T wave. So the QRS complex and T wave are connected by means of ST segment. So if this ST segment is depressed, then it denotes what is called ischemia, a kind of heart disorder because of non-supply of oxygen to the muscle cells. If it is elevated, that is more, then it is a sign of myocardial infarction. So the ST segment is used for diagnosis of heart. So if it is normally just actually depressed, it is a sign of ischemia. And if it is elevated, it is a sign of myocardial infarction. Now QT interval. So okay, there is ST segment, this is QT interval. It is measured from the beginning of QRS complex, starting from Q and then T. This is what is called QT interval, between the distance between the Q and the T. So Q and the T. So it is now measured from the beginning of the QRS complex, that is Q, and to the end of what is called T wave. Similarly, and how can you use this one for diagnosis? So it is important the diagnosis of two syndromes. One is called long QT syndrome, another one is called short QT syndrome. That is actually the distance. Long QT syndrome and short QT syndrome, both are affecting the heart. And similarly PR interval. So they like that QT interval starting from Q, ending with the T, and this one is starting with actually P and ending with QRS complex. P or interval, just between P and T. But you are using this one together QRS complex. So it is being measured from the P wave to the QRS complex. If the interval, that is what's called the PR interval, is very prolonged, just if it is prolonged for a long time, so it is indicating the first degree of heart block. Sometimes it may be called heart attack, but both are different. So a prolonged PR interval, if it is longer, then it indicates the first degree of heart block. So these are all the diagnostic characters that can be known with the help of just ECG. Now you see that one, we have the different ones. Now this is the P wave, upward wave, and this is the R wave, upward wave. Now the Q or S, this is the downward deflections, and this is the T wave, once again upward wave. In some cases, we also have small U wave, a rare instance in some people, but with less diagnostic character. Now this is the PR interval. See that one, PR interval between P and R. And this is PR segment starting from P and it just actually Q complex. PR segment just between, that is P and R. And actually PR interval from the beginning of the P wave and up to what is called an R wave. This is what is called PR interval. And likewise ST segment, it is being calculated just the beginning of what is called actually up the QRS complex. We are making this one and up to, that is before the end of the T wave, the beginning of the T wave, and ST interval between S and the end of T wave, and likewise Q interval, that is from Q at the end of T. The segment is in between and the interval is actually from the beginning and the aim. So like that we have. So a lot of diagnostic information can be gathered by this one. Now you see that one I mentioned. So this yellow color represents the P wave, atrial depolarization. The QRS complex, we have ventricular depolarization. And this red one indicates what is called ventricular repolarization corresponding to T wave. Now we have the different stages. The first one is see that what activation of the atria, just atrial depolarization. The activation of the ventricles, you have the ventricular depolarization, the second stage. Then recovery wave, that is nothing but ventricular depolarization. We have all these things here. And now you see that one, this is a normal heartbeat. Then fast heartbeat, that is increased heartbeat. And this is what is called decreased heartbeat or slow heartbeat. And this is what is called irregular. That is, there is no just a measure can be made in the case of irregular heartbeat, what is called arrhythmia. So you can go through just actually the figure, you can have the idea, the three different types of heart indicating what is called the atrial depolarization, ventricular depolarization, and this is ventricular repolarization. Go through the figures and then you can get the idea. So that's all about what we have with reference to that is ECG at different stages, and go through the figures. If you have any doubt, just ask me and I'll explain or post your question. I'm ready to answer it. So the time is actually concluding. I'm also concluding my lecture. So I will just continue this one, the next class. Till then, goodbye. Thank you.